that aspect. When you start looking at husband and wife in the face, then you're using reversals. So these combinations spoken of from the Arudha Lagna also work from Karakamsha, which means all the verses from Karakamsha should also work from Arudha Lagna, right?
Not other way around.
You sure?
Yeah, because it doesn't say other way around.
But the whole chapter on Karakamsha works beautifully. I get better results in the Karakamsha chapter from Arudha Lagna than I get from Karakamsha. Because you know what? How many people are following their Atmas? How many people are following what society is saying? Most people are following what society is saying.
Right.
Apply those Karakamsha slokas to Arudha Lagna and wow, you get some good results. So it goes both ways. But according to the signification of what we're looking from. You know, whether it's the Atma desiring, whether it's a social situation. If it's from the Lagna, it'll show what the physical situation and personality is. We can use these from all points with correct interpretation of that point. Clear? Clear? Very clear? Clear, Gail? Should be 100% clear because it's the second time you're hearing it.
That's right.
So we are on 30, and this is only in Parashara.
There's Mercury in the second house from the Lagna Pada. The native will be a lord over his whole country.
Go ahead, one more.
If Venus is there, he will be a poet or an orator.
Okay, so he's all of a sudden going back to the second house from Arudha Lagna. And I can honestly say I don't understand why why all of a sudden he's going back. Because weren't we just in the section where he was talking about second and seventh from Arudha Lagna? And then he mentioned these other verses, and then all of a sudden he's talking about planets there. Right? But bottom line is that the planet second from the Arudha Lagna is influencing what you're going to become. Because it's what's supporting you. It's what's keeping you in your social role. So thereby, that planet will have a heavy influence on what you're known for and what you become famous for and how you stay. And fame, you know, we say fame, but fame, you could be famous in your town, famous on your block. There's different levels of fame. Your section of town, you can become famous just in that 4-block section. And that's fame. There's a guy on your street that you don't even know his name and no one else on the block knows his name. So there's so many different levels of fame. But planet in the second becomes very important to influence who you are. What happens if malefics are there?
The means of supporting that fame may not be very good.
What kind of fame do you get?
Infamy. But he's talking about it from a profession point of view. So if you had Mars in the second, that could just mean you're known for being a good warrior versus...
Yes, if it's aspected by benefics.
Okay.
If it's aspected by malefics and it's with maybe in a Venetian sign, the person could be famous for their womanizing. Everybody on the block could know that they're a womanizer and stay away from them. So it'll all depend on that. The bottom line is it's that planet. And if all those verses in the previous, planet's aspecting it. Is it in its own sign exaltation? Does it have positive argalas supporting it? Does it have all those previous slokas? We got to look at all aspects, right? As well as the dasha active at the time. I have Rahu second for my Arudha Lagna. I mean, when Rahu dasha comes, oh my gosh.
There must be some mantras you can do.
Yeah.
When's that coming?
Oh, not till my 40s. Yeah.
Weren't you already in Moon Rahu?
Yeah, that was Moon Rahu. That was terrible.
Is that when you went to India?
Oh, it was a terrible time in India.
No, a terrible time in India.
Eric lives with me half that dasha.
I was in Rahu Moon at the
Both at the same time?
He was in
That's
Rahu Moon.
opposite.
I was in Moon Rahu.
Yeah.
So he got to listen to my whining, my what would you say? My pessimistic.
You're kibitzing.
The Jewish side.
No, not
But
even
then Rahu
just
can create
pessimism.
worries too.
No,
So all
it
these
was
worries, paranoia,
pessimism.
skepticism.
It's not skepticism, just pessimism.
Apathy.
Apathy, more than apathy, because I did stuff. But it's just my view on things was very
Negative.
negative. It was very dark. Cynical. That's the key word. I was so cynical during that dasha. It was terrible.
Well, what about Eric?
He had to suffer it.
Suffer through
My cynicism.
So were you the same way?
No, it was more like the affliction, because that was Rahu was 18 years,
Moon was only 10,
So,
so the dasha
it
was.
was more like external Rahus coming trying to eclipse my mind.
Oh.
I'm not talking about freedom, just like
Right.
in general.
We were living in India at that time, so there's also more reason to be cynical, around other things. You go to some famous pujari and he takes the money from you, and then where's the puja, It's like all kinds of
Mansik puja.
huh?
Mansik puja.
Yeah, it's like,
Visualize.
Okay.
Blowing of your naivete.
not much left to go. We are on 30. Which one?
No. You're
Similar Mercury.
on 31, 32.
31 and
Kale,
32.
7 Kendra or
And
Trine.
so, O Brahman, if the Darapada.
O Brahman, if the Dharmapada, the pada of the seventh house, is there in an angle or trine from the Lagna, or if the Lagna and the Dharmapada are occupied by strong planets, the native will certainly be very wealthy and famous in his country.
Okay. I think that's it for that one. And Jaimini.
The Dharmapada in a quadrant or trine from Ārūḍha Lagna brings the blessings of Sri Devi as property and good fortune.
Okay. So now all of a sudden he's talking about the Arudha Lagna and the A7. A7 is the Arudha of the 7th house. And he's talking about whether they're in trine or kendra to each other. Trine or kendra. Trine or squaring. What's the kendra? What's the English of kendra? Quadrant. Either quadrants or trines from each other. That brings money. The person has the blessings of Lakshmi. Monetarily. Now, Parashara adds one thing that Jaimini doesn't have. He says, or if strong planets are with those points, the person has the blessings of Lakshmi. They have to have good relationship. If they're 6-8 from each other, shows there's going to be money problems.
What is 16?
Arudha Lagna and A7.
Oh, I thought we were just saying it had to be a quadrant or trine.
Quadrants or trines, there's going to be the blessing of Lakshmi.
Okay.
But if they're 6-8.
If there's 6-8 relationship or something negative, then there won't be. Actually, go ahead, you're Ajaya, next verse.
If the Dharmapada is in the 6, 8, 12 houses from the Lagna pada, the native will be poor.
And Jaimini? Jaimini. 1-3-19.
Oh,
1-3-19.
if the Dharmapada is in other houses other than quadrants and trines, the native is unfortunate.
Okay. So Parashara is saying 6-8 or 12. Jaimini just says if it's not in the Kendra or trines, there's some troubles. Okay. Now, the A7 is what's that have to do with money? And why does that make you wealthy or not wealthy?
Relationships, right?
Not in this perspective. He'll talk about relationships in a minute with
No,
the
I'm
A7.
saying A7 may be having indicating the money because it's the house of relationship.
Mm-mm.
But business associates.
Business associates and work related, and it's all about business. It's your business acumen. How good you're going to be in business, with business relationships. whether you can manage money, whether you have professionalism. This relationship here will be indicated by the Arudha Lagna and A7. At the same time, you also look at the Atmakaraka and the Darapada relationship. What did I say? Oh, Darakaraka. The Atmakaraka and the Darakaraka. The highest degree planet and the lowest degree planet. Because that'll show your relationship to money on an internal Atma level. What's your, on an internal level, like, how do you deal with money? The Arudha Lagna and the A7, that's how you deal with money on a real physical, social level. The Atmakaraka Dara Karaka shows what's your soul energy with it. You know, does making money make you happy? Do you have problems making money? Like a very internal level of relationship with money. And
That's in the Rashi chart.
yeah. And where are we at? Verse
We're good with
33. If from the Lagnapada.
If from the Lagnapada or from the seventh therefrom in an angle or a trine or an upachaya there is placed a very strong planet, there will be happiness between the husband and the wife. If the seventh pada from the Lagnapada is in an angle or a trine, there will be great amity between the couple. If it is in a trika house, there will be enmity between them. There is no doubt about it.
Okay. Jaimini, read the next two.
The Darapada in a quadrant or trine from Arudha Lagna indicates marital harmony and physical compatibility.
And the next one? He read two.
The Darapada in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses from Arudha Lagna makes the couple amicably disposed towards one another.
Okay. So here he's saying it also has the same, it also affects relationship. It's going to show your relationship between you and the lovers in your life. The Arudha Lagna and A7 relationship. If it's Kendra, quadrants, or trine, then it's a good relationship karma. If it's 6, 8, and 12, then it's bad relationship karma. There's conflict in relationship. Notice he says they're the same. This is the same as the last one that was relative to money. But he said it again relative to relationship. He said it twice. He could have just, if he really wanted to, he could have made it one verse and put relationship and money into the same thing, right? Easily. Would have been 10 times easier. There's not a reason to repeat it twice if there's not a purpose for repeating it twice, correct? So we have to look at these two very distinctly. But we, at the same time, also have to see the similarity in that if the relationship is good, that the monetary situation is going to be good. So how you treat your partner is very important for monetary well-being. Because that A7 is the Lakshmi in your life. And there's the one Lakshmi is the monetary reality, the other Lakshmi is what would be the wife to a man, or the Vishnu to a woman. And that AL and A7 relationship are very important to show what that relationship is and how those two people are treating each other. Now, Parashara separates. He talked about a monetary situation, and then he went into a relationship situation. The next verse he says,
if the seventh pada,
O Vipra, similarly.
O Vipra, similarly, if the Putra pada, the pada of the fifth house from the Lagna are in the above houses,
Etc.
etc.
The Putra Pada, etc. The A5 and the other Arudhas. Okay? Etc. It's very important.
From the Putra pada, etc. from the Lagna pada are in the above houses. From these combinations also should be studied friendship or enmity, gains or losses, of the sun, and all of the other significations.
etc.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. Yeah. So we see here that he talked about money, but then he went into an interpersonal relationship, and then the next verse he went right to A5 and said that the relationship between the Ārūḍha Lagna and the A5 will show you and your relationship to your children. Is Parashara telling us to see the relationship between the children, to look at the Lord of the 5th house and the Lord of the Lagna? Whatever the Lord of a Lagna is, the Lord of the 5th will always be the same. Correct? For an Aries Lagna, the Lord of the 5th will always be a sun. Will always be the sun. For a Taurus Lagna, the Lord of the 5th will always be Mercury. So if we looked at that, then as soon as you get a Lagna, the relationship between your children is good or bad. Already, if we use house lords.
No, but that would be how the two house lords are placed, right? Lagna lord and the 5th lord.
Then you look how they're placed.
Yeah.
But you see, not only are you looking at trine and quadrants from each other, but you're also looking at how well those two planets get along.
Right.
When you're comparing relationships. So it's predetermining already a certain relationship. Where if we're looking from the Arudha padas, there's never going to be 100% similarity. It throws in much more mix into the situation. Correct?
Yes.
So Parashara here is advising that if you want to see the relationship with the children, look at the Arudha Lagna and the A5. If you want to look at the relationship between you and your mom, look at the Arudha Lagna and the A4. If you want to see the relationship between you and your friends, look at the Arudha Lagna and the A11.
So if they are in contradiction with, like, let's say if you are looking from Lagna.
Kendras and trines show the show beneficial relationship.
I'm saying if
Yeah.
the result which you are seeing from Ārūḍha Lagna and A5, for example, is not compatible or is in difference than what you would see from the Lagna and 5th lord,
Mm-hmm.
then which one would get precedence?
Which one is Parashara mentioning?
But isn't Prashar mentioning the 5th house earlier?
But is he saying to compare the lords? I haven't seen it yet.
No problem.
I've studied this book like you don't even, and I'm not going to say I know this book 100% because, when I translate verses, new things come out that aren't in the translation here. But bottom line is, this is what Parashara is teaching. He's teaching the comparison of the Arudha Lagna to the other Arudha padas. And so, in general, I take this primary. I take this first. Because, and in general, this will show the social interaction. When you and me are in the same room, how are we interacting? If you look at the Charakarkas, look at the Atmakaraka and the Matrakaraka, that'll show what the soul relationship is between you and your mother. Maybe you and your mother were brother and sister in another life. And there's such a good bond, they're in trines and you look out for each other. But the A4 and the AL are 6-8. You love each other, you look out for each other. When you're far away, you send each other letters. You show up in the same room, and before dinner's done, you're arguing your heads off. So it shows that social interaction, which in many regards is one of the most important factors in harmonious relationships. How you can act in a social situation. Because when you're with another person, as soon as you're with someone else, you're in a social situation. Okay.
When you're going through these A7s
Yeah.
and ULs, and you're looking at the results, let's say you go through 2 or 3 relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking at the relationship between the next UL or the next A7.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking at it from the Arudha Lagna from the new placement, or are you always using the general trend?
There's always a general trend.
Okay,
There's the root of a tree.
right.
And if the root of a tree is planted in bad soil,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how many branches it grows, but it's going to have bad fruit.
Mm-hmm.
If a tree is planted in good soil, it could have 3 branches and have the best fruit, that you pick them and you go to town. There's methods where people, they grow big trees that grow lots of fruit, and then there's other people who trim everything off the tree that just has one or two good branches to get one or two good fruits. But what that root is the most important, and will influence everything else. But at the same time, different branches will have different, somebody trimmed them all, and so there's none that have little fruits down at the bottom that didn't get all the light and nutrients. Those different A7s are going to be these different branches.
Right.
And they'll be different, but they're still on the same tree. They're still coming from that same root. So some will be good, some will be bad. You could pour fertilizer on the plant and hopefully make the soil better. And then all those fruits on all the branches will be better. And the sooner you pour that in there, the sooner they get better. But
Okay.
we got, 2 more verses? Oh, great Parashara.
O Brahman, if the Lagna and the Dharmapada both are together in an angle or a trine, or in the 3rd and 11th house, a native will be a king ruling the earth. Finish off.
So that's basically saying if they're conjunct and well placed, then there's it's like a Raj Yoga. Okay, and now this is a verse that, Narasimha said it, and I kind of doubted it at first, and then after reading this, I said, okay, with this verse he has full support. He made the statement that A9 and A5 conjunct is just as good as having a Dharma Karmati type of Pada Yoga. He said it's just like having the Lagna Lord and the 9th Lord, or a Kendra and a Trine Lord conjunct. It's just as good. It's it's giving you that, and Narasimha said it, and he kind of, that A5 and A9 together being just as good. He's saying it's not Shastra, but if you look at this verse, it's talking about the conjunction of a pada being well placed. If these two padas that when well related give you money, are well placed in the chart together in a good house, it's making you ruler of the earth. So that supports that these pada conjunctions can have a very beneficial effect, as Narasimha teaches. So that this verse right here, it's supporting that view. Though I haven't done much research on that.
And
one more.
O Brahman, similarly, it is from the Lagna Pada that the Dana Pada and other padas, both the places or houses, are to be well studied, and it is then that the effects of the natives' horoscopes are to be predicted.
So we got to compare the other Arūḍhas to the Arudha Lagna. We got to look at all these Arūḍhas, etc., before we start making our predictions. According to who?
Rashtra.
Did Jaimini tell us we got to do this before looking at anything else?
No.
He didn't say much at the end.
Did he tell us that before we make a prediction, make sure you look at the Arūḍhas? Parashara told us this. Okay? We covered our chapter.